So if you're a driver in California, the smog check is just a fact of life, right? But have you ever really stopped to think about what goes on after you hand over your keys? Today, we're going to do exactly that. We're going straight to the source, the state's official procedure manual, to find out what the rules actually are.
You know the drill. You pull into the shop, hand over your keys, and go sit in the waiting room. But what are the technicians really doing back there? Is it just about what's coming out of the tailpipe? Well, as we're about to see, the official process is way more detailed than you probably imagine.
And look, when I say official, I really mean it. These aren't just some friendly guidelines. These are the hard and fast rules from California's Bureau of Automotive Repair, or BARE for short. This is the agency that sets the standard for every single test in the state.
Yeah, the manual lays it out right from the start. There's just no wiggle room here. It says every single license inspector must follow these procedures. The whole point is to create a test that's uniform and repeatable for every vehicle, every time.
So where does this super regulated process even begin? Well, it might not be where you think. It's not about plugging something into the tailpipe right away. Nope. It all starts with a whole series of checks to prepare the vehicle and the station.
See, this whole pre-inspection, it's all about making sure the test is fair and, safe. You get a written estimate, so there are no surprises. They have to make sure their equipment is perfectly calibrated for accuracy, and they have to check if the vehicle is even safe to test, like are there any fluid leaks. It's all about setting a professional foundation for what's next.
Now, this next part might seem like boring paperwork, but trust me, it is absolutely critical. The inspector has to input the vehicle's VIN, its identification number. Why? Because that number tells the whole system exactly what kind of car it is, which means it gets the right tests and is held to the right standards. Get one digit wrong, and the entire test could be invalid.
Okay, so what they're doing here is basically creating a perfect, repeatable lab environment, but with your car. The engine has to be warmed up to give a typical reading. All accessories, like the AC, have to be off so they don't put extra strain on the engine. And things like disabling traction control, that's essential for any test that happens on rollers. It's all about isolating the engine's true performance.
Okay, all the prep work is done. The stage is set. Now for the main event. And to make this really concrete, we're going to follow the exact procedure for a pretty common vehicle type that has its own set of rules, a 2005 diesel truck.
Right, so not every car gets the same test. For our 2005 diesel truck, it's basically broken down into two big categories. You've got the visual inspection, where the technician is literally looking at parts like the EGR system, and then you have the functional tests, where they're plugging into the car's computer the onboard diagnostics to check for any trouble codes.
And for diesels, this is a big one, the visible smoke test. But this isn't just some guy squinting at your exhaust pipe. Oh no, it's a very specific, highly structured observation.
You see, it's a super specific four-step dance. First, they watch the tailpipe while the truck is just idling for a full 10 seconds. Then, they check the engine's crankcase, again for 10 seconds, looking for any smoke there. Next up are the bar snap tests. They quickly rev the engine a couple of times. And the final judgment is incredibly precise. If any puff of smoke from that snap test hangs in the air for more than 3 seconds, that's it, it's a fail.
And that visual inspection we talked about? It's not just looking for smoke. It has another huge job: hunting for illegal modifications. The inspector is trained to meticulously check if any of the factory emissions equipment has been messed with or just plain removed.
And the state has a very specific word for this: tampered. It means that a piece of emissions equipment that's supposed to be there is either missing, has been changed from how it came from the factory, or is even just disconnected. If they find anything like that, it's an instant failure. Game over.
Okay, so the inspector's done the visual check, they've run the computer tests, they finished the smoke test, they have all the data. So, what now? How does it all end?
It all boils down to one of two things, right? Pass or fail. If you pass, a certificate gets zapped over to the DMV electronically, and you're good to go. But if you fail, you have to get the vehicle repaired and then come back for a retest. And if your car fails by a lot, it can get labeled a gross polluter, and that comes with a whole extra set of hoops to jump through.
And to make sure everything is on the level, it all gets documented on a Vehicle Inspection Report, the VIR. It has every detail of the test. The inspector has to sign it, personally taking responsibility for the result, and you get a copy. It's the official record.
So when you look at all of this, the checklists, the timers, the exact RPMs, you gotta ask, right? Why is it all so complicated? Why so strict?
Well, this one line from the manual really says it all. The stakes are actually pretty high. Every inspector is personally on the hook for that test's accuracy. And once they issue that passing certificate to the DMV, it's final. It is impossible to take it back. There are no do-overs.
And that's really the whole point of this giant manual. It's to make sure that whether you're in San Diego or Sacramento, your car gets the exact same test, the exact same way by every single inspector. The whole system is designed from the ground up to be standardized, strict, and accountable.
You know, it's a really complex process. Super rigorous. It's designed to catch not just the obvious smoke, but also failing computers and tampered parts that we would never even notice ourselves. Which kind of makes you wonder, after seeing how much goes into it, what would our air actually be like if this whole thing just wasn't here?